Hey guys, my name is Courtney from Will's Bloom, and normally I would say a sanctuary of self-care for female entrepreneurs, but in actuality, I feel like the content that I make was not necessarily directed towards self-care as much as it was about intentionally designing our life and business with the cosmos. That's why I have some self-care stuff, but a lot of business and astrology stuff as well, because the ultimate intention of Will's Bloom is to help you guys have a better business so that you can have a better life. So anyway, I'm changing up the wording I'm going to say at the beginning to more accurately reflect what I do. But let's actually go ahead and get into the content today because it's super interesting. Today we're going to be talking about the strengths and weaknesses that you can find in your birth chart. And specifically, it's like the good luck and the bad luck that you're born with. So let's get started. So many of us, including myself, have this belief that we actually chose our lives on Earth before we came here. And not like we're choosing every little thing and we don't have free will, but like we're choosing major events and circumstances before we come here in order to teach us certain lessons. So for example, I believe that I chose my parents and my family, and the fact that my dad would pass away when I was 11 years old, I think I chose all those things before I came here because I've learned a lot from them, and they seem to be like these very karmic or fated events in my life. And I do think that we choose to meet certain people and date certain people based off of these like previous soul contracts before coming down to this planet. And the reason I'm bringing all of this up, and this might sound super woo-woo and you don't actually have to believe any of this stuff, but the reason I'm bringing it up is because I think that we can see some of the things that we're choosing before we come into this life by looking at our astrology chart. And we can particularly see the areas of life in which we're giving ourselves more challenges or more difficulties, and the areas of life which we're giving ourselves good luck and like stronger benefits than other people. And so I want to talk about how you can actually find that in your own chart here today. But before we get started on the actual meanings of the planets and how to find this, you do have to have a basic knowledge of astrology. But don't worry, you guys can find that in my astrology basics video, which I'll link up in the cards and down below in the description. Okay, so let's start off with the good side of everything. So where do you find good luck in your chart? Well, first what you want to look for is Jupiter, and I'm going to place a picture of Jupiter right here on the screen. So when you pull up your natal chart, you can do that by just clicking, just going on astro.com and typing in your birth information under the natal chart section. But once you pull up your chart, you can find the symbol of Jupiter and then find which house and which zodiac sign it falls in. And I'm actually going to put a PDF that you can download in the description box below that's going to walk you through the meaning of each house and each sign. And what you're going to do is combine these in order to find kind of which area of life in which you feel the good benefits and the good luck of Jupiter, but then also the kind of style in which you will feel it. So let me break that down and explain exactly what I mean. So as I was just saying, Jupiter brings us a lot of good luck, expansion, and growth into our life. So if you find where it's placed in your chart, you want to look at the house, and that will show you in which area of life Jupiter will bring you blessings. But then when you look at the sign of Jupiter, the zodiac sign, it's going to show you the kind of style or the manner in which the blessings will come into your life. So use that PDF down below in order to find the area of life by the house in which you'll receive blessings and the style in which you'll receive blessings using the zodiac sign. So Jupiter is the ultimate benefic planet, which just means like a good planet. It brings lots of good energy and good vibes to our life. For example, I have Jupiter in the first house, and I feel like this actually makes me a very jubilant and happy person. I feel like it gives me a lot of optimism and luck and just positivity in who I am as a human being. So I'm constantly searching for personal development and just to feel good and follow optimism and positivity. And I think that has a lot to do with Jupiter being here. If you have Jupiter in the 11th house, for example, you might have really good luck when it comes to your friends. I've known people who have a lot of opportunities to meet people, and the people that they meet will connect them with other resources that really help them out in their life. So someone with Jupiter in the 11th house would expand their community outreach and their friendships. If you have Jupiter, for example, in the 2nd house, this is a wonderful placement because 2nd house has to do with finances. So having it here would actually make you have really good luck when it comes to money. So you probably wouldn't have that scarcity mindset that so many of us have. You would actually feel like money just flows to you like magic, and that you can spend and that more will come and you don't have to worry. Or if you have Jupiter in the 8th house, this is all about other people's money. So that means you'll have good luck when it comes to other people's money. So maybe you will marry someone rich, or someone will pass away in your family and you will inherit a lot of money from that family member. Jupiter here just likes to expand things. And sometimes it can expand negative things, but for the most part, Jupiter does have a positive aspect in our life. So if you don't actually notice that you're feeling those positive aspects, then maybe there's something in your chart that indicates that Jupiter has a bad rap with other planets. And what that means is that the planets can actually be at like tension angles with each other. For example, squares and oppositions, where when they create these sort of angles, it's like they have a bad dynamic between two planets. And it can sort of inhibit the benefits of one of the planets in your life, because maybe every time something good happens, something bad will happen or something like this. It can appear in lots of different ways. But basically, if Jupiter is poorly aspected, as we say, with another planet, then it could change the way it appears in your life. And also if a planet is retrograde. So if Jupiter was retrograde when you were born, this can oftentimes turn the benefits of that planet inward. So instead of having an outward manifestation in your life, for example, like having Jupiter in the 2nd house, moving direct, moving forward, would mean that you would have good luck with your money. But let's say it's appearing red in your chart, which means that it's actually in retrograde or moving backwards in the sky when you're born. If that's the case, then the opportunities and the benefits of Jupiter would be internal. And since the 2nd house is our values and our possessions, this might mean that you would have really good luck when it comes to self-esteem and self-love and what you value in your life, really aligning with who you are. So you would have benefits internally that way, but not necessarily manifesting externally. This goes for all the planets. So if you're noticing that you're like, hey, I don't have that many benefits in this area, or when I'm about to show you the negative planets, you're like, actually, it's not that bad for me. Well, then it might be appearing in a different way, or you might have certain planetary alignments where it actually lessens it or makes it positive. So let's go over the second beneficial planet, and that is Venus. Venus is a planet of love, of wealth, of beauty, of art, basically everything super enjoyable in life. So wherever you have Venus, it's going to bring you some beauty, some tenderness, some love, and possibly some money as well. So go ahead and locate it on your chart. It should look like this symbol right here. And then I'm just going to cover some examples of what Venus can bring you in the different houses. For example, if you have Venus in your 4th house, this could bring you a really peaceful and loving childhood growing up. And it could also bring you a really wonderful family life as you get older. I have Venus in the 8th house, and like I mentioned before, my dad passed away when I was younger, so I actually inherited some money from that, because the 8th house is death and rebirth, but it's also other people's money. So having Venus here, the planet of money, in the 8th house sort of indicated that this could have happened before I was even an adult, before it even happened, or when I was born. And then also a really positive alignment for Venus would be to have it conjunct or aligned with your ascendant or your sun. And oftentimes actually celebrities will have something like this, or even people who are just really admired by the public. And that's because Venus it creates like this very, like this feeling of adoration, admiration, of beauty, of magnetism. So when you have it aligned so closely with your appearance in the world or your core essence and your ego, it really illuminates this beautiful side of yourself and it just attracts people to you. So this is a really positive placement of Venus. And actually, when Venus transits your sun sign, because of course it's always transiting or orbiting around the earth, when it actually moves past the place where your sun was when you were born, this will give you some of this adoration or admiration and attractiveness to people because it aligns that energy with your essence. And this summer is actually going to be transiting Gemini. It's also going to be retrograding there, so there's going to be mixed benefits, or it'll be a mixed bag. But I will hopefully get some of those benefits during that time. Maybe in my business, for example, more people will be attracted to my videos or attracted to my content and then find their way to my business, for example. Okay, so now let's talk about the bad, which in my opinion is actually not that bad. So I want to talk about Saturn first. And everyone calls this the Great Malefic, or like the bad planet. And in my opinion, yes, it brings struggles and hardships, but with the ultimate desire of helping us, of aiding us. So what I want you to do is look for this symbol in your chart. This is Saturn. And then I want you to look at the house and find which area of life that it's in, because this is the area of life in which you're going to experience more hardships, more delays, or more constriction. However, this does depend on which house Saturn falls in, because Saturn likes to do hard work. So if it falls in a planet if it falls in a house like the 6th house or the 10th house, which relates to our work and our effort out in the world, then it's probably going to have a better experience or a better outward manifestation in your life than if it fell, for example, in the 1st house, which is all about your personal identity. So you have to really consider what the planet means and what each house means and how that energy flows together. But besides that, what I want you to do is find the house in which it is in, and then imagine that you have an old, wise, but stern teacher there telling you that you need to work much harder in this area of your life, but that eventually it will all pay off if you do. And that is what Saturn is. Saturn is that old teacher. So I have Saturn in the 6th house, which, as I mentioned, it actually likes to be in the 6th house because it likes to work. But it doesn't necessarily like to be in Pisces, which is where my 6th house is placed, is in Pisces. So this means that I actually tend to have trouble setting my daily routines and sticking to them. I'm sure you've seen from a bunch of other videos on my channel that I like to set these nice structured routines. I like to have goals about what I'm going to achieve each week and each day. But in reality, there's so many times I've struggled with this where I'm like, I'm going to get this done, and then nothing goes according to plan and everything gets in the way. And that's because Pisces hates boundaries, it hates structure, and Saturn is all about structure. So it's sort of like this conflicting energy. So you have to also examine the sign in which Saturn is in, because if it's in a sign like Pisces or Aquarius, it probably doesn't want to be in those signs as much as it wants to be in Capricorn, for example, which loves structure. So let's give another example of how Saturn in the 6th house affects me. Well, the 6th house has to do with our daily routines, but it also has to do with our health. So having Saturn here actually created an issue with my skeletal system, because Saturn in Capricorn rules the skeletal system. So from a young age, I had scoliosis, which is where your spine is curved like an S. So when I was 11 years old, I had to get a surgery where they put in rods and screws in my spine to make it straight. So now I have this sort of issue with my back kind of for the rest of my life that makes me feel somewhat constricted. And that's what Saturn does. It makes you feel constricted in that area and like you don't have the same freedom as everybody else typically does. So when I do yoga all the time, and when I'm in yoga, I look at people and they're doing back bends and these twists, and I try to do those things, but I can never ever look like them, and I never will. And that's just something that I have to accept because Saturn has bestowed me with this wonderful gift of having surgery. And also what Saturn does is it makes us give so much more effort, and it delays our gratification in this area of our life, even more so than it does for other people. So I look at other people around me and they eat like shit, they barely work out, and they're super skinny and they look fit. And I'm just like, what's going on? I have to work out all the time. You know, I have to be very diligent about taking care of my health because of my back. And there's some other people who seem like they don't need to do anything, and it just comes easily to them. And that's because I have Saturn here, which means I have to put more effort than other people do. But it also means that that effort will pay off. So for example, if you have Saturn in the second house, which is typically ruling our finances, you might have more difficulty when it comes to establishing a budget. Maybe growing up you had a family that didn't make a lot of money, or they weren't good at managing their money, and so you're always around this kind of lack mindset. Well, then when you became older, maybe you used too much credit cards, you got too much credit card debt, and then you really had to sit down and learn how to manage your finances and be extremely responsible and diligent. And that is what Saturn asks us to be. So if you do go through all the time and effort to become responsible and diligent with managing your money, then eventually you will retire with a lot of money in your bank account at an old age. And that's what Saturn is here to tell you or to teach you. If you put in a lot of that effort over the years, staying consistent, being really diligent and persistent and not giving up, then eventually you will see the rewards. And actually, the reason why I like Saturn so much is because besides just teaching us, how to be hardworking and diligent people, it allows us to teach others in this area of our life. Because I've had to master so much with my own health, it's really important to me that I teach others to take care of their health as well. So that's why with Willow's Bloom, the end goal is not to have a successful business. The end goal of Willow's Bloom is to have a really nice, happy, fulfilled life, which includes your health, which includes your mental health, which includes your personal life and your social life. So I think all of those things are really important because I've had Saturn here in this area of my life. I've had to tend to it. I've had to learn and overcome obstacles related to it. So now I can teach others about the importance of those things and teach them how to overcome obstacles in those areas of their life. And the very last one that is negative, but also has positive things to it, is Chiron. So Chiron is not a planet, it's an asteroid, and it represents the wounded healer in astrology. And you can find it on your chart by looking at this symbol right here. And Chiron, like I said, represents wounded healer. So if we take that first word, we can imagine that for some reason, we have a wound related to Chiron and where Chiron falls in our chart. So if you believe in past lives, astrologers will tell you that actually we were wounded, we were like hurt, killed, condemned, something around the issue that Chiron will pinpoint us in our chart. So in some past life, maybe we were killed because we were very outspoken in our career, for example. If we have Chiron in the 10th house of career. So locate which house it's in, and then you'll find which area in a past life you were hurt for standing out in some way. And it also depends on what sign Chiron falls in. For example, if it falls in a sign like Leo, maybe you were very bold and passionate and outspoken, or even Aries because they have very similar tendencies. Maybe you were doing those things and you were killed because of it in a past life. So besides that negative trait of, okay, I have this wound here where I have this fear around being hurt again. Besides that, how do we overcome it? Well, actually what we can do is work on healing that part of ourselves, but also healing that in others. So for example, if I have a fear of the 11th house, like if Chiron is in the 11th house, I might have a fear of speaking up in my community because I have Chiron in Leo in the 11th house. But I also can heal myself and others by still pursuing acts in which I'm healing my community, in which I'm helping my community and speaking out in my community. So finding which area of this chart falls in will help you in the future because it will show you which area you might have some hidden unconscious fears which area you can work on healing and where you can work on healing it within other people as well. So please comment below, where is your Chiron located? I will definitely reply and maybe give you a mini analysis of what that will mean for you in this lifetime. And again, if you guys liked this video, then you'll probably like my video about the monthly astrological energy for your business. So I'm going to link that up in the cards and down below. Thank you guys so much for staying tuned to the end. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. But most importantly, please hit that notification bell because that's how you're going to get my videos pushed to you each week. Thanks so much, guys. Bye.